Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football, brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp is the sports bookie of all sports bookies. They have all your favorite sports bookies all in one place just for you. You can check them out at signupexpert.com/fiasco. Place a $10 bet because there's so much sporting right now. I mean, Tanner and I, NBA fans, even though both of our teams not in the playoffs currently, both of our teams are complete garbage. But you know what? I will always place $10 on my Dallas Mavericks. So signupexpert.com/fiasco. But yes, with me as always is Tanner Vinsky. No Danny Weber today, talking about the AFLE. How are you, Tanner?
I'm good. I finally get to rest. It's been 2 weeks of moving.
Yeah, you're where I wish I was currently, is being done with the moving process.
Oh, you're starting yours right now, right?
Yeah, actually, this week we're going to Colorado to, one, for Sarah's graduation, but two, we're going to be looking at apartments, townhomes, all that fun stuff. So that's what I have to look forward to.
Nice. That'll be a journey for sure.
Absolutely. But I'm glad that y'all are, at least at this point now, hanging out in your grandparents' basement. Honestly, it's kind of rad. Tanner and I were talking about it before the show. But shout out grandparents all across the country.
Absolutely.
Y'all are the backbone. So, but AFLE, we got the rosters. No London football team.
So we have most of the rosters.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. Is if you watch the last two episodes, you saw we did the EFA in half. So we did 3 teams one episode, 3 teams the other episode. We're running short on time before kickoff, and we kind of want to do a big preview episode next week. So I figure, we've talked enough shit about the AFLE. It's probably in our best interest to at least give them some credit and talk about their rosters before the season starts.
Yes.
So we're going to go through all 8 in quotation marks teams for the AFLE and just what their rosters look like, and who we think is going to do well and who we think is going to play.
Because there are at least a couple of these, they had the 4 expansion teams. Alpine has quite a few people on the roster, and the Paris Lights have quite a few people on their roster. So there are actual people to talk about, but there are people to talk about with London. I don't think we need to. They've heard our comments. They know how we feel. So going on to the Red Lions.
So the Red Lions roster is interesting to say at the very least.
And incomplete as well.
Very incomplete. I mean, they're not even close to a 52-man roster. Just going off of what we got in EFLpedia, or ELFpedia, I forgot a letter there. It looks like they got their wide receivers signed and their DBs signed, and outside of that, they got none of the rest of their roster complete. They only got Matthew McKay as their one QB. We've seen Matthew McKay play. He gets a bad rap because he doesn't perform to the same level as a lot of the other QBs we've seen in Europe. But at least they have a guy who has played in Europe, is familiar with the schemes. That might be a positive for Florence, just having a guy like that who has been around the block and at least understands how the culture is and things like that. There's definitely pros to having him. I don't want to give him too much of a bad rap because I feel like every time Florence's roster gets brought up, it's talking about how bad of a signing Matthew McKay is. But again, you got a guy who's familiar with the way the game is played in Europe. I think that's a big benefit for an expansion team, right?
Sure.
You think about the Houston Texans back in 2002, I think is when they expanded. They brought in a rookie QB with David Carr, and he took 68 sacks in a single season or something ridiculous, right? So you're not going to have that with Matthew McKay, at least. You're not starting completely from scratch. Devin Carter, I've heard good things about as a wide receiver. He's an A import. Outside of that, I know from what we've heard from Matt, he really hates their E imports that they've signed. It seems like they're not even top 25 British players. So that's a tough look. Hopefully they can develop, and be competitive. But outside of that, I mean, it's a very incomplete roster. There's not a lot of stability. There's not a lot to be excited about.
I want to point out as well now, Jakeem Harris did play for NC State. They're one of those programs that has some up years and some down years, but they're a solid enough program.
NC State's like a real program. Yeah, it's not like we're talking about any of the schools that I attended. Any of the MAC schools or anything like that, right?
Sure.
Like NC State actually has good years. So
sure. And I'm not quite as worried about him in this league, but the one thing that I did find interesting was Trajan Cotton. Looked him up, and I don't believe that he has played football since 2018. Has at least not been in a game based on ESPN since 2018. So if that's the case, I really don't like that signing.
I mean, dude, that's pretty close to the last time I played football. I mean,
yeah, that's
2016 was the last time I played.
And I'm not saying that for all we know, this guy could have a very long, illustrious European career that we just can't find in a quick internet search.
But it's a concern that
it is a concern, because also that tells me that he's probably he's in his 30s, whether if it's on the earlier side of 30 or closer to the mid 30s, couldn't tell you just based off this quick search, but he's in his 30s, and so also you just don't have youth for that as a signing.
And if he's not in his 30s, man, he's getting dangerously close. I mean, we know how that feels.
Yeah, dude, I turn 29 next week. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't know how much there is to talk about with the Red Lions roster other than, yes, it's incomplete. Sources locally to, these European teams are saying that the imports don't look particularly great. Matthew McKay is a fine quarterback, but there's definitely better A quarterbacks than you can have. He's not going to lose you games, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a bona fide star.
I think a good comparison for it for people who pay close attention to the NFL is he's like a Tyrod Taylor, right? Like you sign Tyrod Taylor to your roster, you're getting a relatively high floor, but you're getting a really low ceiling, So you're not going to be like really bad, like in terms of like the QB play, right? Like you're not going to see anything that's going to lose you the game. But like if you're sitting there in the 2-minute drill and you're like, yeah, Tyrod, go down there and win us the game, that's a bad place to be in,
Sure. So, I don't know how much there is to talk about the Red Lions. Other than that, we just need to see them sign more people before we can really say some stuff. And so that kind of takes us on to the Paris Lights, who, again, also kind of an incomplete team. They have 26 on their active roster currently. Not a ton of E imports. They still have plenty of E tags. They do have an interesting situation with Evan Hillcock. He is a I import instead of an A import because he is a Canadian quarterback. So I do think that gives you the opportunity to, it looks like they have 4 other A's on the team currently, including Xavier Edwards, who we do like. We have talked about him before.
Yeah. Evan Hilliok, I believe.
Oh, Hillock.
I'm trying to remember which one. I guess I get him and the Steven guy that got signed with Terrell mixed up because I looked at both their tape at like the exact same time, like within the same few hours. But I'm pretty sure he's the guy that played for.
He played for Western
Michigan.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a school for sure. It's a MAC school. So it's not like he's like a Canadian college football player.
Sure.
He did play D1. So that's big. He played D1 football. That was a while ago. I think he was playing in like 2019, 2021, somewhere in that range, I believe.
That's when he started, was 21 to 22. He did play through the 25 to 26 season, it looks like. And based on his stats, I mean, it looks like, this past season definitely had a down season, only played 8 games. So that might be injury. Don't really know. But the season before that, in 11 games, had almost 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a solid ratio. we've seen quarterbacks from smaller colleges do great in this league, i.e., the best player in the league. One Way Jay is from what is that school? Just right up the road from where I live. Help me out, Tanner. You lived in the area.
Sorry, say it one more time.
School in Ogden. What is that?
Oh, that's Weber State.
Weber. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so Jadrian Clark playing at Weber State is proof that you can come from a smaller program and do more than just fine in the European League.
And Weber State's not D1. Weber State's like D3.
Yeah, they're a very small school.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, he did not play at Western Michigan. I just went through and looked again. I forgot that I was looking at his high school tape from 2019. I wasn't looking at, because that was the thing that was posted when he was trying to get a college offer. He played for the Western University Mustangs, which is a school in Canada. So he didn't play D1 football. So that actually changes the thought a lot, because for some reason I think I'm getting mixed up with the Steven guy, who I think played at Eastern Michigan. I think that's where it got messed up. Regardless, he hasn't played college football, which is scary. College football in America, which is concerning. But I mean, they don't have to use an A import at QB, so that gives them flexibility, where now you see they have 2 A's in their wide receiver room. So if they really do believe in Hilly Lock and they think that he can, make the throws, I mean, you got 2 A imports, like that's an advantage no other teams are going to have. So that's interesting at the very least. I mean, really the only thing from this team that I like from the Paris Lights is I like their defensive back room. Again, that's really one of the few positions they have people signed in. But I mean, Xavier Edwards is obviously a great signing. And then, from what was being said about Marquet Collins and Peter Lundstrom, I mean, both of those guys are also pretty solid. So I don't know anything about their A import receivers.
I just looked them up, and I am concerned for our guy Hillock.
Yeah.
Tristan Wallace played for Prairie View A&M, local actually to where I grew up. Went to DeSoto High School, and which is why I was like Tristan Wallace sounds familiar. That's because he graduated high school 2 years after me. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that still puts him in his late 20s, which is fine, but it looks like he didn't really get playing time at Prairie View A&M either, which is a very small school. And then James Brania Hop, not sure how you pronounce it.
Washburn University.
Yeah, I went to Washburn, brother. And also, it looks like has not played football since 2018.
Yeah, I don't think the Paris Lights are going to be very good.
No, because the Paris Musketeers, I will plug this in real quick. We did hear that they got a massive signing at defensive line. I'm sure that we'll talk about that more next week. But Paris has all the good the Musketeers, have all the good players. The Lights looking a little sparse at the moment.
Well, the Musketeers are actually, I mean, we've talked about it extensively through the offseason. The Musketeers are going to be scary next year.
Yeah.
That roster is going to be sick.
And we already were high on them before this signing, but now it's a whole different ball game. But I'm going to just go ahead. I'll switch us to the Alpine Rams. Actually do have majority of their roster. They have 44 active players, 3 A's, 10 E's, 1 I. Their 1 I being Harold Messian, also from Canada. I almost said California because it says C8.
C8, I know. I was looking at the exact same thing. I'm like, what is that?
Canada. Quarterback is Gabriel Cunningham. Let me give that one.
So this is the guy who got signed after we did our QB rankings. So he wasn't a part of our QB rankings. We didn't look up anything about him. I don't know much about him. Looks like he played. I mean, I don't know if it's the same guy.
Yeah, this is confusing.
I don't know if he's a tight end converted QB.
Yeah, because I'm getting a guy from NDSU, North Dakota State University. Sorry, y'all may not know that acronym. Our friends out in Europe.
Can
I would
I?
be very impressed if you could point to North Dakota on a map.
Me? Dude, I know where North Dakota's on.
No, no, not you. Our European listeners, and that's not even a dig. That's just like
yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
West.
So this is interesting. The Wikipedia page for this Gabriel Cunningham, because this isn't the same guy who went to NDSU. It looks like he played for Texas Tech in 2014 and NMSU, which, hey, shout out Las Cruces, in 2015. But he has been playing football since then. He looks like he had a bunch of European teams all through. He played for the Leipzig Kings in 2022 and the Wiederaufbauenden Throners in 2023. And it looks like he was in Mexico after that.
Yeah,
he was ELF MVP of the week in week 14 of 2022. So he has been in Europe before, so that's good. Again, this was prior to us watching, so I don't really know how he was. So it would probably been good to ask the insiders what we know about this. I would read up more about his stats, but this entire page is in German, and I can't turn it into English.
Well, that can be a problem sometimes. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that as quarterback. Just given what we know about like the Leipzig Kings and the Wiederaufbauenden Throners not being particularly good franchises. Granted, they were also very poorly ran franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking through their offense. No A's at wide receiver. They haven't signed one of those yet. They do have an E import at running back. Not really recognizing any of these names on the line.
No, I don't. I mean, they got Devin Burrell, which when we did our top 64 players in Europe, I argued pretty extensively against Devin Burrell because I just don't like the concept of a player like Devin Burrell, who is like very lethal special teams player, like disgustingly lethal special teams player. He's going to score you on kickoffs, but the fact that you have to use an A import on him and you have to have him as a DB listed makes it really tough for you because he's not that elite in coverage.
Sure.
So for the majority of the game, when you got him on the field, he turns out to be a net negative. It's just those few explosive games, those game-breaking plays that you get the potential of. And you just have to think, is the odd kickoff return touchdown going to outweigh the coverage he's going to give up on defense? It's kind of a give or take. It's a tough situation to be in. I understand why a team like Alpine would go after him, especially since you're a brand new team. Devin Burrell's a very exciting player to bring in, right?
Sure.
So I don't necessarily hate that move. I don't necessarily love it. Outside of that, I don't know their E-import DBs.
So actually, I do know Chad Walrend is a very
Chad Walrend.
At least in past seasons has been a very good player. I actually, looking at this, I don't hate their defense, at least in comparison to the last three rosters that we've talked about.
This is the best one because you got DeMarco Artis, who he's also been.
He's had some ups and downs, but he's had some pretty ups.
And the only reason, to be fair, because I know DeMarco Artis doesn't really like us too much. The only reason he ever got Fiasco winner was because he got ejected, not because of his level of play.
It was more the did something.
And I definitely have DM'd him that. I've told him, we didn't think you were a bad player. It's just you got ejected, so that's why we went that way. And honestly, I kind of understand why he's upset because Talia was dog shit. Talia.
He should have gotten the award.
Yeah, he got ejected. That's such an easy layup to give somebody who got ejected for, a pretty late flag to be like, yeah, you're a Fiasco player, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, DeMarco Artis is a baller. He can play really well.
He can play well.
Having a really massive dude on the D line as an A import who's going to be aggressive and he's going to be passionate, as we've seen. So And that's the thing, dude, is he came from the Paris Musketeers. So he's got that like ride or die with my team mentality, because we've experienced a lot from the Paris players. Like, those guys live and fight for each other. I mean, they're about as big as camaraderie as they can. That's also why we're so high on them, is because we know what type of culture they've instilled there and what Jack Del Rio has done for them. Sure. So I think DeMarcus Artis is going to be a huge part of this team, and I think that's really helpful for them. So yeah, their defense is probably going to be pretty decent. Again, it's not going to be as good as the EFA defenses, because all those defenses are just broken. They're ridiculous. And it's not going to be good as Rhines and Vienna's defense, but they probably have the third best defense in the AFLE. We'll have to look at Wrocław. I don't remember if they have any like real big hitters on their team,
especially now that Wilson's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, yeah, there's at least enough between having artists, having a Canadian import linebacker is pretty helpful. I looked it up. He went to the University of Montreal. There's a picture of him with some big award. So like, must have been decent enough, right? And then Chad Walrand is a baller. Devin Burrell is a baller. But yeah, dude, this offense does not move me.
No, I will give him credit here. I love the idea of just saying fuck it and signing 5 O line, right?
Sure.
Like, using all of your E imports on O line. Dude, I mean, we've literally said that in the past. Like, if we were constructing a roster, we would get. Now, to be fair, they didn't go the same way we would have gone. All my guys would have been from Tonga and Samoa, and those guys wouldn't played a snap of football in their life.
African guy somewhere in there.
Yeah, you throw like a big Nigerian dude on a guard position, like, what's it called? You can go that route too. But
for sure.
What's it called? Yeah, no, I do love that though. I love that they said screw it, 5 E slots on O line, because I mean, we saw how bad the the Helvetic Mercenaries O line was while Carlton was there. Yeah, he had centers. They had centers on their heads. Yeah, so they probably do need 5 E slots on O line.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I can't imagine that they just have a ton of big boys out there, So that takes us to the ELF squad that has now made their way over to the AFLE. So we have the Berlin Thunder, Wrocław Panthers, Rhine Fire, and Vienna Vikings. We'll start with Berlin because I figure odds are they, either them or Wrocław will have the worst roster. 33 active. They do have their 4 A's. They still have a couple of E's to sign. They do have the 1 I import. Shout out these teams for doing the I import stuff. Get a Canadian in there. I think you'll, it's not like having an A, but it's a little extra for sure.
When the merger happens, they should bring the I import in,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to say when. I'm not going to say if anymore. I'm going to say when it happens.
When the merger happens next season, and we've got 10 really kick-ass teams, and it's a bloodbath every week, and it's a good time.
Yeah, and I think the I import is a great call, and I think they should keep that.
Yep.
I do think this roster's worse than Wrocław's. There's not a ton of name power on this team. We'll start QB down. Jacob Sullivan's going to be Jacob Sullivan, the Jameis Winston of the EFA, or the European space.
Man, he's got games where you think he's the second coming of Jesus, and some games where he needs some Jesus.
Well, the good thing is like he's going to have really good stats this year, because there's going to be 4 teams he's going to go against that are going to have pretty bad defenses. So those games that Sullivan's playing, like, you're probably going to have a chance to win him, because he's going to go out there and he's going to put you up points.
And he does have John Cole to throw to, who was one of the biggest fantasy point getters from last season. Now, quite a bit of that was because he capitalized on the same dog shit teams. But, hey, that's what they're going to have to do to at least be middle of the road, right?
No, for sure. And I that's a good spot. I like Oeo at running back. Oeo had a good season last year. Hopefully, he can continue the momentum. Outside of that, on offense, I got like zero thoughts on any of these guys. I see a bunch of E's on O-line. that's kind of interesting for a German team because that's not really you have the advantage of having really good O-line prospects in Germany. So it's funny that you're a German team and you're bringing in 3 E's, but I mean, if they really think that's the way they got to go, if the other German teams took all the best O-line talents, then I guess that's what you got to do.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it for the offense there. I mean,
well, and for the defense, I'm gonna look up the A's real quick. I do see that one of their I's is a DB, so that's an interesting use of the I.
I mean, the fact that you got 2 A's, an I, and an E in the DB room, I mean, you're putting a lot of capital there, which should equate to being a really solid defensive back room. But again, I don't know much about these guys.
I'm looking them up right now. Let me look at that. Will Johnson, is that the third or the second?
That's the third.
Third, okay.
I think I've heard of Felix Pruill.
So Keyshawn Abraham played for Rutgers.
Okay.
Which is at least a D1 school. So respect.
I mean, they get called Butgers, but
D1 school, it does
Big Ten team.
Let's see. He last played college ball in 2023, it appears, but that's not that big of a gap. Does look like he is a little bit on the older side, though, because I am seeing that he started in 2018.
Okay, I do recognize Pruill because Pruill played with the Milano Seamen, then the Paris Musketeers.
Okay.
So, yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And
didn't hear his name too much, but honestly, as a defensive back, if I didn't hear naming that much, that's probably a good sign,
Sure. And just saw Keyshawn Abraham, it looks like did not really get any playing time whatsoever while at Rutgers, even though he was there for 5 years. So
it's a tough part about a lot of these A signings from these teams. Like
there's just not a lot to go off of.
There's just not a lot to go off of. We don't really know much about them. And it's concerning, like, the level of play you've seen these A imports have in the AFLE compared to the level of play the A imports in the EFA have had, where those A players are like, oh, these are guys who were just a step down from being middle play in like a minor league team in the Americas, like, oh, these guys were just a step below from making the CFL or things like that, or the Mexican leagues. But they're able to make it over here. And if that's the case, then yeah, they're going to be heads and shoulders above the competition here in Europe.
Sure.
Whereas you look at these guys, for the AFLE teams, it's like, shit, man, like these guys didn't.
I can't find anything on some of these guys. Yeah, like I'm looking up Will Johnson the third, and it looks like he played for, I think this is Houston Christian University.
Dude, that's got to be a banger program.
HCU, and it looks like there's some sort of a Husky. But
when you think of Houston, you think of a old sled dog, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not seeing. It looks like he didn't play. It looks like he had one punt return or one kickoff return for 18 yards. So,
how did they find this guy? Like, that's my. Like, I'm trying to be polite. Like, I'm trying not to like be rude to these teams, but this guy's statistical findings the stats we can find is he had one punt return for 18 yards or one kickoff return for 18 yards.
Yeah.
In signing this dude, like, how did you even find? Yeah. How do you even find this dude?
Well, and also, like I think about some of the rosters that we've seen. Like, I should probably look up what HCU is, but I'm good. But like with Rutgers and Keyshawn, right? Like, so maybe y'all didn't want to reach out to the guy that Keyshawn was backing up, Like, I don't know. It is concerning that there's been a number of these A imports who have not really gotten any type of playing time, not only in college, but at small programs. And that's no knock on them as athletes. Like, it's very easy for me to sit here, as a podcaster and say this, right? As someone who's, didn't play ball in college. But from the journalistic side of things, though, I do have concerns, genuinely, of what kind of winning can be done with a roster like this, especially. So that's Berlin. Wrocław's probably not going to be too far off of it. They do have Wang at quarterback, but just for a quick look at the Vienna roster, right?
Like, well, let's go over Wrocław, and then we can get into like the Rhine and Vienna discrepancy here, because Wrocław's a little closer to those.
They're at least fielding a competitive roster. Having Wang,
that's a real QB who we've seen done well, who I think is going to develop even better in the league. And I think it's going to bring stability to the QB room. And he's definitely got a better head on his shoulders than our boy DJ Irons. Shout him out, but still,
huge difference.
We still love DJ Irons, but Wang, isn't going to run into the same issues DJ Irons ran into.
Sure. Mike Harley Jr. is who.
Yeah, Mike Harley Jr. That's a good wide receiver. Juan Flores Calderon has had a lot of experience in Europe. He's a great receiver. Dylan St. Pierre, the Canadian eye. I forget what Matt was saying about it, but I remember him talking about him, and he seemed like he was a pretty interesting prospect. What's it called? You go into their D-line room, or just like their defensive room, like Torrey Richardson. These are players that we've at least heard of, which is a much bigger difference.
I recognize that name.
Yeah. This is a huge difference compared to the last rosters we looked at,
and that's been the frustrating thing about this whole breakup is, I'm looking at this roster right here and I'm like, this is at least competitive enough that, if you don't have your shit together, you can accidentally get behind on this team because there is offensive, star power here. I would imagine that, they've used some e-tags. It looks like for a German, is that Nigerian?
NG.
It looks like a Nigerian name, Amos Leaoye.
Yeah, it's got to be Nigeria.
And then someone from the DK as well. I'm not sure.
DK should be Denmark.
Denmark, okay. But so yeah, they're putting together, and so that's a Nordic guy, so he's probably huge.
And we were just talking about Nigerian guys. He's probably huge too.
He's probably huge and athletic.
And they got a German dude on there too. I mean, this line should be big, Yeah,
the line should be big based on what we know. Yeah, I have heard good things about St. Pierre, and having the I import for that is spicy. Flores Calderon has been solid. Mike Harley Jr. is not only he's a good wide receiver one, but he's a champion. He knows what it means to win, what it takes to win, how to play under pressure, things like that. So it's a solid group. They'll definitely on the Paris Lights and the Red Lions of the league are going to beat up on them.
No, I think they beat. I think Wrocław beats all the rest of the teams besides Rhine and Vienna. I assume they're going to do a 4 playoff bracket. Unfortunately, those teams are going to be the 4 old teams, and then the 4 new teams are all not going to make it. I know that's terrible to say, but it's most likely going to be the case.
Yeah,
but
I would be very surprised if it wasn't.
But even looking at Wrocław, I still would take every other EFA team over this team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, this is improvement, and they're going to beat the shit out of the other teams. But if they were combined with the EFA, they would be the worst team.
Sure. I know. I mean, I agree with that. Now that does take us to, I think we should dive in more to the 2 teams that it would be very interesting to see how they would stack up against our friends over at the EFA.
And this is still my hot take, and I'm still going to follow through with the hot take, is that I think Rhine would also be the worst team in the EFA if they were to merge. Now, not obviously if it's just like you add Ryan and don't add any other teams, it's just Ryan going to the EFA. I still think I would take every other EFA team over Ryan. Maybe you can argue that they would be better than a Tyrol or a Prague, but I
Yeah,
still
I was going to say maybe those two.
but I still think I would take Tyrol and Prague over Ryan's team that they currently got. I think the advantage that Ryan's got is they're the German team essentially. Like you can see most of their roster are just homegrown German players. I mean, they only got 4 imports. They got 52 homegrown players on their roster, and a lot of these players are good. Like their line, we know is going to be pretty good. I mean, they got Sven Breedenbrock, who's like,
as always. Till Jansen is a phenomenal player. I know Nazir Streeter's an A import, but he's a phenomenal player. Like,
yeah, and like this defense should be good. Like, again, I think there's an argument for Ryan to be better than those two teams, but I think the other 4 teams in the EFA, I don't think Ryan is better than them. Like, I think I trust Frankfurt, Nordic, Paris, and Munich more than I trust Ryan. Just with the level of quality play they got. And that's where the real frustrating part comes into is you look at Ryan and you think, okay, this is a pretty solid team. They're kind of like a bubble team if they were in the EFA. But this is a team that should be in the EFA and I think would be competitive and could potentially get a playoff spot in that league. And they're just going to dominate everybody. But even with how good Ryan is compared to the other teams in the AFLE, you compare that to this freaking Vienna roster, like, it's not even close. Like, the Vienna team is the most disgusting constructed team I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it is, dude.
It's
like
absurd, yeah.
It's
I do, just real quick before we dive into the Vienna of it all, because that is a disgusting roster head to toe. I do want to just give a little bit of credit to the QB wide receiver 1 situation that they do have in Ryan, just because I know that Kenji Bahar was on a Baltimore Ravens practice squad at one point in his career, which that does normally translate well, as we've seen with Reed Sinnott. And I know Kalen Geiger was a decent college player. Played at Texas Tech. Actually had some yardage and some touchdowns at Tech, had some at Troy, and I believe he also made a practice squad. So I could see those two guys putting up some points. Defense is solid, but I do agree with the top 4 EFA teams. I do think Ryan would become 5th.
Yeah, but even then, if that were the case, let's say they join in, I would still respect Ryan's roster a lot as the 5th, and I would still respect Ryan's roster even looking at this situation because it feels balanced, like it really does. I mean, and also the wide receiver room for Ryan is not going to get enough love, but it should get more love because, I mean, Geiger should be a really solid fit. I think Deshaun Scott is a pretty solid player. And then you got good old 5 touchdowns, Harlan Quofi himself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Harlan Quofi's a dog. So, I mean, that's going to be a really good wide receiver room. So I mean, there shouldn't be any excuses for Bahar to come into this team. Like, he's going to have targets. And he's going to have a good O-line.
Yeah. Ryan should absolutely, with the exception of maybe their matchup against Vienna, Ryan should absolutely destroy every team that they face in this league. And
so
if they
it looks like
there's problems.
It looks like Geiger did play an NFL game.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, him and Bahar, I think, that's going to be solid. I'm just saying in the grander scheme of when the merger does happen, I do think that Ryan would leapfrog Prague and who am I spacing out on? Raiders Tyrol. There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Vienna of it all, I will open up the floor to you, my friend.
So, I mean, I keep comparing it to the Golden State Warriors, but it really is. Like, I mean, this is how it felt when Kevin Durant blew a 3-1 lead to them, and then the Warriors lost in the finals to the Cavs, and all of a sudden, the next offseason, Kevin Durant signs with the Golden State Warriors, and then the league was fucked for 3 years, This is what Vienna's doing. I mean, Ben Holmes is one of the best QBs in the league, in both leagues.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say he's the best quarterback in this league.
Yeah, and he's the second best in the other league, you know. So you got that at your talent. Pajarine is a great running back. I think they signed another like German running back who is pretty solid, who's like not even gonna like get playing time.
Pajarine's probably gonna get better because he is young. So
yeah, and then you look at their wideout situation. They got Daryl Stewart still. I mean, they got Daryl Stewart, who's a baller. You're going to get Yannick Meyer, who's a baller. Noah Torre, who's a baller.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous situation. Flo is back as tight end. He's a baller. Nick Weens is one of the best O-linemen in the league, in both leagues. You deal with that. You go to the defensive line. You got Sean Trotter, who's a baller. You know,
I work from Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know how they made that work, but okay, cool.
They got him. Yeah. In the linebacking room, I mean, you got Swan Carr, baller. Their DB room is
disgusting. Baller.
Yeah.
Yeah, DB room, Marlon Sean Franklin Jr., Lalo, Amani Dennis, like.
I don't think it's on here, but they signed Iceman too, who is also. Oh no, there he is. Yeah, on their D line. So they get Iceman on their D line, which that's a crazy signing in itself. It's like just a super unfair signing too, because they were so stacked, and since for whatever reason, since Spain doesn't have a market, they get Alejandro Fernandez as a freaking homegrown, so they don't have to use an I slot on him, which is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like not like they needed him. Like they still were gonna win the league without Alejandro Fernandez, but now that they get him, like it's just ridiculous. Like
Mickey Mouse ring. Yeah,
it's a Mickey Mouse ring, and also like I don't want to shit on them too much. Sorry, I'm not going to go that route. I was just going to talk about how it's
Now I do have a genuine question for you, and we do need to put our biases and our anger towards one Vienna Vikings aside. Where do you think that this Vienna roster ranks total between the two leagues?
I think it's the best. I think it's the best roster between both leagues. I don't think any of the teams in the EFA are this stacked. I mean, they just have, I would say, like 10 of the top 30 players in Europe on this roster.
Yeah.
Which, that's insane considering there's 14 rosters between the two leagues. And you have 10 of the top 30 players all on the same roster.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because, I mean, Nick Weens, he's a top 30 player. Swan Carr's like probably somewhat there. Ben Holmes the top 30 player.
Easy.
Myers a top 30 player. What's it called? Who else are we looking at here? Flo's a top 30 player. I mean, you can really find like 10 on this roster. Alejandro Fernandez is a top 30 player. Like it's stupid.
Amani Dennis.
Yeah.
Marlon Franklin. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit disparaging for sure. I do think the one, just looking at them, the one roster, man, I'm still just so high on Munich's roster, bro. That is if we were to have the merger tomorrow, that is who I would probably pick for the championship matchup would be those two. And I think it would just be an absolute bloodbath. It'd be incredible.
Well, that's why it's such a shame we don't have the merger, because I would like to see this Vienna roster go against Nordic in Paris. Like,
specifically the Musketeers, yes.
Yeah, well, and also Nordic's team's really good.
Well, no, I'm saying not the Paris Lights.
Oh, yeah, the Paris Musketeers, yeah. Not the Paris Lights. I mean, we're going to watch this team go against the Paris Lights, and it's going to be ugly.
It's going to be ugly.
Also, like, they just have such a stacked coaching class, too. I mean, they still keep Kaleke, but then they get Jordan Newman as their offensive coordinator. Like,
bro, that's disgusting.
Really? Like, dude, that's, yeah.
Yeah. Nah, we can just sit all day and go into
No, dude. I mean, it's the equivalent of like if you're looking at the European space. I mean, it's like after the Patriots like finished their dynasty era, if like Andy Reid hired Bill Belichick as defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what we're dealing with here with Clay K and Jordan Newman. You know, it's like two of the best coaches in Europe,
just coming
both
together.
on the same roster.
Yep. Well, any final thoughts about the AFLE rosters before I close this out for the day?
Vienna's disgusting. Ryan would be pretty good if both mergers happened. Wrocław's on the bubble. The rest of the rosters are very unaspiring, and I hope that, I mean, they don't have a whole lot of time, so I really hope we see a lot of moves in this next week, because if we don't, I have serious concerns about Paris, Florence, and London making an appearance in the league.
Sure.
And even to a small extent, Alpine. So the AFLE is running out of time. These rosters got to get figured out for those bottom teams. The fact that London has no players still is frightening for a kickoff that's supposed to be happening next weekend.
Is theirs happening next weekend as well?
I think they're both starting at the same time.
Let me double check that real fast before we. I don't want to end on that note.
I mean, their thing is AFLE.com, right?
Yeah.
It's AFLE Pro. Let's see, games. Okay, they're not next weekend. They're 2 weekends from now. They're the 23rd.
Still, to not have any team fielded, but there is like an official schedule? Oh, yeah, there is. Yeah, we went through it. I forgot about that.
So week 1 is only 2 games. It's a Saturday and a Sunday game. So Saturday is going to be Berlin versus Vienna, and Sunday is going to be Wrocław versus London in London. So, again, the London football team don't have a name. They don't have a stadium. They don't have a city, really. They're supposed to be playing in 2.5 weeks. In London.
Yeah.
I fail to see how that's going to happen. I'm still under the impression that I think this Vienna Berlin game is going to happen, and we might see we can't do any of our games next week type situation.
Yeah.
Like London's not around, Ryan can't play. Florence doesn't have enough players. They can't play against Paris. You know, and then maybe like week 2, we only get 2 games. We get Berlin and Alpine versus Vienna, Wrocław, and then like we still don't know what's going on. Like I think we're going to see a lot of that happening because it's, and again, I don't want to be so pessimistic about it, but we're 2.5 weeks out from kickoff.
Yeah.
EFA kicks off next weekend. We're looking at these rosters.
And EFA has
5 of them are incomplete
products.
Yeah.
They have 6 products that will be on the field for each game.
And we know they're going to be playing.
Yeah. Full rosters. But
it's concerning. I hope the best for the league to actually function. I hope we get football. I think for sure we're going to get week 1 and 2 games. I'm very pessimistic about them playing in June.
Yep. Well, maybe there will be some sort of a tournament style something over the summer that they'll figure out a way to get the drowning teams out of the AFLE and into the EFA, and then we can just have the 10 teams like we were always meant to have, and everyone can just hold hands, kiss babies, and shake hands. Like
definitely. I think like I said, I think we're going to see week 1 and 2 happen for the AFLE with the teams that are still established. And then I think we're not going to see any more football from them. And by the time the EFA ends their season, we're going to hear that Vienna, Rhine, Berlin, and Wrocław have joined the EFA.
Yeah. So
maybe not even Berlin. Honestly, Berlin. I mean, instead of Berlin, it might be Alpine. It might they might make it before Berlin, because Berlin's a scary situation. They don't got money. They don't really have a roster, and they don't have fans. So I don't know if the EFA is really going to want to take Berlin.
Yeah, that's good. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for listening. As always, you can follow us on social media. We're at @4thdown_pod on Twitter and at 4thdown Fiasco on Instagram and TikTok. But this has been Jordan and Tanner saying so long. We will talk to y'all next week.
Hugs and kisses.